Seige House, Colchester. The siege took place during the reign of Charles I and was part of the war between the Royalists and the Parliamentarians. The old Seige House is in close proximity to Colchester Castle. The building was situated next to the bridge which crossed the river surrounding the town and castle. At the beginning of the siege of Colchester, the Royalists occupied the castle and ruled Colchester. However, this was not to last, since the Parliamentarians used some clever tactics and soon realised if they could capture the road leading to the town and castle that they could gain control. The Royalists, after losing control of the East Bridge side of the castle, became desperate to gain possession of the route back to the town. They went into battle once more with the Parliamentarians and won the siege. 2 days later, the Parliamentarians took back control of the East Bridge when they stormed the castle, killing the Royalist commanders by firing squad. Most of the fighting took place on the East Bridge, and the evidence can still be seen today. The timber frame of the west side of Old Seige House and the south front contains many bullet holes from the fighting. The building still has its original oak panels, fireplaces, tiles, and its beautifully stained glass windows, which it had at the time of the siege. The old Seige House in Colchester is now a restaurant. There is one room in the restaurant that staff don't like to enter. A sense of dread accompanies them, a feeling of being watched and objects moving around on their own. A ghostly sighting was recorded as recently as the early 1990s, when a phantom cavalier was reported marching down East Side Street, eventually vanishing as he reached the old Seige House. A strange story that defies explanation, perhaps a time warp of some sort, or even weird figment of a man's vivid imagination, and possibly the real answer will never be known. One thing is for sure, the young man who actually witnessed the incidents will swear that it is all true and nothing will persuade him otherwise. In 1974, 4 young men from Colchester set out by car to travel to Manchester to support Ipswich Town Football Club against Manchester United. Halfway along the M6 motorway, they stopped at Kiel service area for a break. Having refreshed themselves, 2 of them returned to the car. The others went to the toilet. Whilst there, one of them suddenly noticed a man standing beside him, dressed in old-fashioned clothes similar to those of the Civil War period, 1640. He was wearing a wide-brimmed hat and broad white collar and roughly woven light brown clothes, which had a form of a very coarse stitching holding him together. Thinking that the man was taking part in some type of war game or possibly a publicity stunt, even an actor engaged on a film set, all sorts of ideas flashed across his mind, but apart from an odd glance as the man left, he paid no attention to him. Rejoining his friends in the car, they continued their journey. As they travelled along, he asked the others what they thought the man might have been doing, but to his surprise, none of them had ever seen him. Even though he was so conspicuous, the matter was dropped and conversation returned to the forthcoming match. Nothing more was thought of the incident, and the months slipped by until one day the young man, who by now had married and was living with his wife and mother-in-law in East Street, Colchester, was idly standing looking out of his front window towards the old Seige restaurant opposite, when to his utter amazement he saw a man walking along the pavement opposite, dressed exactly as he had seen in the Kiel toilet over 100 miles away. The man with his strange form of dress strolled casually along, but the other pedestrians did not even appear to notice him. Nobody even gave him a second look. It was uncanny. At first he couldn't believe his eyes, but yes, the man was definitely there, and he called to his wife and her mother to come quickly. He pointed out the man to them, but his wife said that she could not see anything unusual where he was pointing, but her mother was able to describe exactly what the man was wearing, even saying when the man turned the corner towards the rear of Seige House to disappear from sight. The Seige House is now a restaurant of old timbered building that takes its name from the famous siege of Colchester in 1648. Still visible in its timbers today are a number of holes made by musket bullets. They were fired during the siege. But the mystery of the figure, possibly a cavalier, still remains unsolved. Apart from that mystery of the Seige House, there is also a mystery of the haunted room on the upper floor. This room, to judge by appearances, was once used as a chapel. Its original oak beams are beautifully inscribed with religious verses, and what appears to be an original fireplace is surrounded by what could well be originally Delft tiles. Apart from the odd bullet holes, the whole room gives a feeling of a presence watching every move that one makes, and some people claim have seen misty figures appear and disappear through the wall. Some of the waitresses prefer not to linger in the room, and if possible only to go there in pairs. Although this room is not in general use, the management have been known to use it for parties, usually with the request that it will be vacated before midnight.